Hello, students. Thank you for taking your Unit 1 performance task practice problem. This problem was from 5th grade, just so you know. This is not a 6th grade item. This was a released item from the state, so this was used on a previous PSSA in 5th grade. So what we're going to do now is, you see, I took the open-ended item. I did it. I'm going to show you my answers so that you can kind of compare them with your answers. And I want to show you, remember how we talked about in the last video, you can get like a 0, a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4 on an open-ended item. I'm going to show you how the points break down and how you earn that 4. Okay, so let's take a look. It said, each month for 4 months, Gabriella recorded the number of days the sun was visible at noon. She started the pictograph below, but has not yet completed the row for June. See, that's missing. I hope you realize there was a key here. Every sun represents 4 days. Okay, so part A says, how many days was the sun visible at noon in March? So let me grab a highlighter. Let's go to March. Grab my highlighter. So for part A, March, let's count how many suns we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 suns. So check out my work. We have 6 suns, and each sun represents 4 days. So I just took 6 times 4, and my answer was 24 days. And I just wrote a little sentence. The sun was visible at noon for 24 days. I should probably put in March. In March. Okay, so how do you score that? Well, if this was going to the state of Pennsylvania, they would have given you, and I took this right off the website, they would have given you a full point just for the correct answer. That's why I highlighted it. If you had 24 in this slot somewhere, it doesn't matter if you wrote words, it doesn't matter what you did. If you have the number 24, you're getting 1 point. Period. End of story. It didn't say to explain, it didn't say to expand. You have it, done. And so remember, that lives in this level, part A, remember? Depth of knowledge 1. All math students should get it right. It's recall. It was the performance of a simple procedure, right? A simple calculation, very straightforward. So hopefully everybody gets a +1. In fact, why don't you start grading your own paper? If you have the number 24 in this box, I want you to put +1 out to the right side, okay? Let's go to part B. Part B, how many more days was the sun visible at noon in May than in April? So now we're comparing May and April, and there's an extra step because of this. How many more? I'm feeling some subtraction coming on. So we're comparing May to April. So let's go up here. So we're comparing May to April. So let's look at May. In the month of May, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 suns, or 5.5 suns. So look at my work, May. 5.5 times 4, because remember, 4 days per sun, that's 22 days. Then in April, 1, 2, 3, 4 suns, 4 times 4, 16. Notice how I labeled May, April. So how many more days? Well, I have to take the sunny days in May minus the sunny days in April, and that gives me 6 days. Now here's how this breaks down. If you have 6 days anywhere in this box, even if you don't have work, right? If you have 6 days, they're giving you +1 for the correct answer. Boom. Just like up here. You know how you had 24? If you have 6, you're going to get 1. But the only way you're getting the second point in this box is for this part. Explain how you found your answer. Let me say that again. Explain how you found your answer. Well, if you showed this work, that is considered explaining. They took this. So if you have something like this, then you get +1 for the correct and complete support. See, this is my supportive work. So if you have the 6, you get a point. If you have the supportive work, you get a point. Now, if you explained this in words, like in sentence form, that's okay too. So you have to judge yourself. Do you have correct and complete support for the 6? Because if you just have a 6 sitting here, that isn't enough. You have to have some sort of words explaining what you did, calculations explaining what you did. Now on this one, that's this second point, you can get just a half point for correct but incomplete support. And that might be hard for you to decipher. I would probably have to look at your paper to decide if you get the 1 or the 1/2. But for me, I think right now I think I'm getting both points. So right now I have a 1 from part A and a 2 here. So I'm looking at 3 points right here. Now, the state of Pennsylvania, they gave me another answer. So this is how I did it. But there was another answer on the rubric, and this is what some other students did. I don't know if you did. Since there are 1.5 more suns in May than in April, you could take 1.5 suns times 4 and get your 6 days that way. In other words, if you come up here, you see how like April and May line up all the way to here, but then these are your extras in the month of May. So that's your 1.5. So these are your mores. These are your mores. So if you take 1.5 suns times 4 days per sun, you're going to get the 6 days. And that would be 1 point for the answer and 1 point for the support. So you can get your 2 points that way. Okay. Now, part B. Remember what part B was? Depth of knowledge 2. You have to stretch a little farther. You have to explain your thinking. Okay? You had to organize because you had to do April and then May. You had to separate the two. We all should have gotten that right, quite honestly, if we're willing to put in the elbow grease and the work. Okay, part C. Part C is worth 1 point. You can either get 1 point or a half point. We'll talk about that. So this one said, to finish the pictograph, Gabriella put 9 complete sun pictures in the row for June. Explain how you know Gabriella made a mistake when she finished the pictograph. So I was thinking if you put 9 suns times 4 days per sun, you're going to get 36. My explanation was this. June only has 30 days, so it would be impossible for the sun to be visible at noon for 36 days. So what would they give me? They would give me a whole point for the correct and complete explanation, which is exactly what that is. They would give you a half point for a correct but incomplete explanation. So we'll have to look at that and what that might look like, what a correct but incomplete explanation would be. Maybe like this is correct, but it's not really saying why it's correct. So it's like correct and complete. So maybe I would give a student a half point if they had the 9 times 4 is 36, but they didn't explain like why that's impossible. Okay, so if I total up my points, I've got, oh, before I leave that, let's go back to part C and what we talked about, depth of knowledge 3. So part C, depth of knowledge 3, it's a little more strategic because you had to know about the months of the year, right? You had to know about 30 days in June, or the fact that no month goes over 31 days. It's a little bit of analyzing there. You're making a math argument when you say, hey, June's only got 30 days, so there's no way this is happening. That's a math argument. Yeah, I didn't think part C was, I've seen more difficult part C's in my experience. I didn't think this part C was too tough, but you had to think about the days in the month, so we'll let it ride. So for me, I would have scored a 4 on this, obviously. That's why I'm the teacher, right? Because I got 1 point here, I got 1 and 1, and then I got my 1. So if I was doing this on the PSSA, I would have scored a 4, and I would probably be falling into the advanced category. So what we're going to do to practice a little bit more of this is I have 3 answers from students, random students that we don't know. We're going to look at their answers, and we're going to use the rubric, and we're going to try to score them. Like if we were the scorers on the PSSA, we're going to see how they did. So we'll be doing that next. All right, thanks for watching, and happy trails to you.